5 watts. It doesn't sound like much, but how much difference does it make on a climb? Well, I've got a bike, a power meter, and a beautiful switchback heaven climb behind me in the Italian Alps. So we're going to find out. Previously on GCNTech, we looked at the impact of adding 1 kilogram of additional system mass to a bike and rider when going up an epic climb like the one behind me. We compared predicted results based on maths and physics with actual experimental data that we performed. And we found that the 2 results were actually pretty consistent with each other, allowing for some margin of error. And while 1 kilogram might sound a lot to most cyclists, I mean, the difference between a bike that's a kilogram lighter feels like loads. Well, physics and maths predicts that actually it's not that much to most of us, and increasing your FTP by a measly 5 watts, or improving your bike setup by 5 watts, will make far more difference than that 1 kilogram. I've weighed myself and my equipment, I've done some calculations, but it's time to put it into practice and see what happens in real life. So, well, it means I've got to get cracking and ride up and down this climb a few times. Great. The climb we're using is a 4.8 kilometre section of the Laghi di Cancano climb. You may remember it being the final climb of the Giro d'Italia stage that went over the top of the Stelvio in 2020. That day, Teo Geoghegan-Hart and Jai Hindley were duking it out for the pink jersey. It was absolutely epic. It's 6.8% in gradient, so, well, typical for an alpine climb. Right, run 1, I'm going to aim to hold a constant power of 250 watts. 2 reasons for this. 1, I can talk at that power, and also it's, well, fairly typical of what a lot of good amateurs can do on a climb like this, so hopefully it'll be of use to a wide number of people. Right, let's go. So what does 5 watts represent if you don't, say, have a power meter? Well, could be a slight fitness improvement, or in tech terms, it could be the difference between running summer tyres and winter tyres, so some nice fast summer ones like these Pirelli P0s, or perhaps using latex tubes instead of butyl tubes, or it could be the difference between running a dirty chain and a clean one. Some other things that make more difference than 5 watts are going to be things like riding out the saddle rather than seated. Even at this speed, aero matters and that'll slow you down a lot. Or it could be riding with your jersey unzipped. Looks cool, looks Euro, but it ain't quick. 5 watts might not sound like much, but if you extrapolate the result from this test over the course of an entire epic ride, well, it adds up to some significant time. Nearly at the top of the first run, holding the power nice and steady. This is actually a bit flatter section, so I'm having to pedal a bit faster, which is quite fun. 22k an hour. But yeah, 251 watts I'm actually on the first run, so I need to just back it off a touch. But yeah, there or thereabouts, looking good. Coming up to the end of the first run. Now, run 1, bang on 250 watts, and did it in 1929. So time to, well, enjoy this amazing descent and do it all again and add 5 watts on. What an amazing descent. That descent is absolutely amazing. Right, I get to do it again in, well, hopefully not very long. Run 2, let's go. 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. Now, according to maths and physics, on this run, where I'm doing 5 watts more, I should be around 22 seconds quicker. So we'll see what the results say. But something that's really interesting is that if I was riding at a higher power, 300 watts, and then rode at 305 watts, I complete the climb in less time. But that also means the amount of time that I save is less. So I'd only save 15 seconds according to maths and physics predictions. Makes sense because you're on the climb for a smaller amount of time. But how much difference does a kilogram of mass make? Well, once again, less than 5 watts, but not so much. So at 300 watts, it's predicted it would be 10 seconds. At 250 watts, it's predicted to be around 12 seconds. So still a significant saving from the power, but the take-home message, I guess, is that for most of us, riding at 250 watts, 5 watts counts more than a kilogram. Second run, coming in hot, bang on, 255. 2 more hairpins to go. Run 2 done, bang on 255. I'm going to go over to a really nice lake around the corner and we'll go through the results. Be rude not to. How amazing is this dam? It reminds me of GoldenEye. Anyway, on the second run, that's what you're here for, I did it in 255 watts average, bang on, and did it in 1909. So 20 seconds quicker than when I did it at 250, which is pretty amazing because the maths calculation predicted it would be 22 seconds difference. So I'll take that, that's pretty good. But what about if I was able to ride at pro level wattages? So for my weight, 400 watts, right? Well, I can't do that, but if I could, maths and physics says that it would make 9 seconds difference between 400 and 405. That's because I'm on the climb much less. It would only take me around 13.5 minutes to complete it. But the interesting thing here is, what the is that? I hope that doesn't mean that they're going to open the dam or Pierce Brosnan's going to bungee jump off it. But adding a kilo on at 400 watts also makes 9 seconds difference. So a kilo at 400 watts is the same as 5 watts improved power, which means that, well, if you're a pro, at pro wattages, there's an argument that weight matters more for them than it does for someone riding at more kind of mortal amateur power outputs, which I think is really interesting. But it makes sense because 5 watts when you're doing 400 watts is a smaller overall percentage of the total power, whereas 5 watts of 250 is a bigger overall percentage of that total power number. So I guess it makes sense. The overall take-home message is that if you're an amateur cyclist and you're wanting to get faster, well, unless you have an FTP of 400 watts and weigh 70 kilos, you probably stand to gain much more by improving your FTP by 5 or 10 watts than you do by having no fun stuff like beers and chocolate and cake and just, you know, really getting really uptight about that last sort of kilo you have to lose. Improving your power is going to make you a much more powerful rider and stand you in much greater stead and elicit a better performance gain. So there you have it, 5 watts makes about 20 seconds difference on a 5K alpine climb to, well, a sort of average fit cyclist. So is that more or less than you thought? Let us know in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and, well, share it with your friends if you've got any. And, well, in fact, if you haven't got any friends, but you've got enemies, share it with your enemies as well, because, well, they're all views, it all helps the channel.